And we're back from outer space. And action.
Action.
Okay.
Thanks for joining me today, Rob. I appreciate your time and joining us, all of us here in our cars, in our homes, in our gyms.
Putting the kids down, right?
Putting the kids down, getting them up. You're probably not getting up your kids and listening to a podcast, but
yeah,
yeah.
Whenever you are.
Yep. Whenever you are, here you are now. Welcome.
Today, what are we talking about, Travis?
We are talking about routines.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. It sparked my my thoughts on this this morning as I was watching somebody talk about their morning routines. And then I thought, ooh, we could riff on this for quite a long time. And let's see where it goes. I think this will be fun. There are a lot of little branches that we can climb.
Oh, yes.
In regards to routines. And so why not start with the topic of a morning routine? Why does it matter? How does it help? What does that do? As a coach, Rob, as you work with people, what are you seeing that's working? What do you see that with someone with a morning routine has compared to someone who doesn't?
Okay. So I'm going to back up and preface this with something first. So a lot of the individuals that I coach are similar to us, right? They're parents, right? They're either working a career job, maybe a side hustle, maybe they're a stay-at-home parent, because the situation of time is the same, right? Even if you go to a 9-to-5 or you're a stay-at-home parent, it's still scheduling everything. So the topic of routine is really important because the aha moment is I would ask like, hey, Travis, what's your morning routine? And you're like, I don't have one. Then I'll be like, okay, then let's just go over your day. Like, what do you do? And you go through your routine. You see, you may not be cognitive of it. It may not be planned, but we all have a routine. Now, that routine might be supporting you in your goals and what you want to accomplish with your day, week, month, year, or it may be keeping you at your status quo. It's about building that awareness as am I present? Am I deliberate with my routine, or am I just kind of shooting from the hip, so to speak? So that's kind of the big aha moment is everyone has a routine. It's whether or not it is planned or I'm on my heels, as you say, right?
Yeah.
So that's the big aha moment is, okay, we all have a routine, either we like it or not. And then the next step is to realize, okay, well, what do I want to accomplish in my day for myself, for my business, for my family, for my spouse? And then what are the best times of day to do that, right? So there's plenty of literature and research out there that shows in the morning, it's great for creativity work. In the afternoon, it's more tactile physical work, right? So if you think of coming home or even after a full day of being a stay-at-home parent like I am, like, man, my mind is spent. We can't have deep talks about finances, but if you want me to dig a hole for a rose, I can do that in the garden, right? So I kind of lay that template out, and then we kind of plug and play what you as the individual, okay, I need to do something that's about work or about creation, and we're probably going to put that in the morning. If it's more physical around the house chores, we'll probably put that in the afternoon. And then to layer on top of that is if we find out that one of the pillars, self-care, right? Taking care of your health, mental health, physical health, has kind of been lacking over the years. We try to say, eat the frog first thing in the morning, right? Do the hard things first. So 9 out of 10 times for a lot of my parents, a lot of my dads, that self-care will come first thing in the morning because we're so used to sacrificing our priorities, our time in order to support family, spouse, co-workers, business, which is kind of the default for a lot of the dads. And what I try to do is I try to explain to them that, hey, if you were the captain of your ship and you go down, the ship goes down. So there needs to be parts of your day that are carved out to make sure you fill your tanks. And unfortunately, if you're like us and you have kids, a lot of that time is going to be in the morning. So routine's very broad, right? It's kind of like it's a touchy subject for a lot of people, right? You're going to have influencers and creators that say, I don't need to have a morning routine. You just need to do work. And we talked about this off air about like, oh, I forgot you're single with no kids. Nothing bad about that. That routine works great for you, but what's realistic? And for me, as a parent of 3 kids under the age of 12, all of my selfish, and I use that as a positive term, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things that I want to do that are proactive towards family goals, my personal goals, I do them in the morning. I do them before the kids wake up, or I do them in transition times, right? So if I know that I have an hour gap before pickups, then I will work out at that time, because I know when the kids come home, it's dad life, it's homework, it's dinner prep, it's cleanup, it's going outside. So for kind of like a big top down view, that's the importance of a morning routine, is to either fit in things that you've been neglecting for years, right? Putting yourself on the back shelf, or finding out what parts of the day works best for what you need to do. So again, creativity, right? Using your head, morning time, more physical work in the afternoons.
Oh man, that is gold. If I had just gotten that maybe 8 years ago,
Timing is
you know.
everything, Travis. Timing is everything. But you know what? You've been taking the steps now. And so I always tell, like we know with kids, right? It's never like, oh, you made a mistake. Okay, it's the end of the world. No, it's an opportunity to do better, right? So for a lot of the parents, when we kind of go over their daily schedule, the daily routine, they realize that there is time there. They're just not using it for themselves. And so we try to carve out time in your day. And that's what we call a daily routine, right? That's setting that standard of, hey, you're just as important as your spouse, as your kids, as your job. And so let's make sure that we have time every day to check off something. Maybe it's exercise today. Maybe it's some kind of recovery modality tomorrow, right? So making sure that you're doing something for you every day so that you can be that better parent, that better partner, right?
Yeah, yeah. You know, you often talk about this when we're off air. We've discussed this a number of times, but kind of in regards to having like a plan B or a plan C.
Yes.
I like that, but pairing that with that concept that you talked about of brain work in the first half of the day and more physical in the second half, right?
Mhm.
Lately, the thing that's been working for me really well as I think about this is, I have like the design and creative stuff that I got going on as I'm building this trailer
Mhm.
that I'm working on at the first half of the day. But the nice thing is, when you're a homeowner, there's like 8,000 things to do all the time.
Yeah.
So I have this like backlog of all these things. And sometimes, I hit a bump or a rut and it's just like, okay, time to go literally move those bricks,
Yeah.
or, time to go dig that hole because I got to get to that pipe. You know, you get a little exercise, let off a little steam, what have you, and then either you re-engage with that other stuff
And
later,
I love the
or
way you put that. And I'm a big believer, because we're all going to have like tasky, reactionary checklist stuff, right? Grocery shopping, dig the ditch, clean the garage. We all have that kind of stuff day to day. And it tends to get kind of backed up because it's not a priority, but it's still something
Mhm.
that needs to be done. So for me, kind of in those transitions of the hyper focused morning routine, maybe something physical in the afternoon, or when I have a lull where I'm starting to drop my focus, that's the time where I'll stop and do 2 things on the checklist: go wash the dishes, change some laundry, and I'll come back and get right back on it. So that way, productivity wise, I'm still accomplishing things that are important to the family, to our household throughout the day, but it's not like either or, right? Like, I
Mhm.
either need to work on work or my passion project or do that. Like, no, there's enough time throughout the day. You just need to know how much capacity it actually takes for each task. The more capacity, the earlier on the day you want to do it. So think about like charging your battery on your phone overnight. Throughout the day, that battery starts to go down. So if I need something that takes a lot of battery, I'm going to allocate that towards earlier in the day. Now, don't get me wrong. Pre-kids, I was a night owl. My creativity happened at night, right? I'd be able to work early in the morning, 2, 3 a.m., and actually do some of my best work. But the reality is, we're parents. This season
Mhm.
is different, and you need to accept the season in order for change to happen. If you're still holding on to like the old schedule, or that you can just wing it, that is supporting the frustration of why things are not getting done. Right. So to acknowledge the season of your life, and like you said, the scaling, right? What's your plan A, plan B? Let's say the first thing in the morning is for this month is self-care, and I need to go on my walks. I need to exercise. And you're doing good, but for some reason, your kids kept you up all night. You don't have the energy in the morning to do it. But the plan B is I'll do it after drop offs, a quick 10-minute walk, or at lunch hour. Instead of taking the full hour for lunch, I'll eat in 20 minutes because nobody really eats for the entire hour. That would be great. And we'll talk about that another time. But eat for 20 minutes and go for a walk for 30 minutes, right? So have a plan B, plan C in your day already built up. Or maybe I know today it's summertime, or it's getting close to summer, example, and we're going to go to the pool. Well, great. That's my backup plan if I don't do it. But still, it's scheduled. It's in my routine to do it first thing in the morning. So yeah, I love having the checklist as a filler, right? The tasky stuff. But also, I need to have my routine. I need to have my plan.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, so something you need to have, I would say, then takeaway on this is have some of those things that you need to get done around the house, or have some of those things that you need to get done for your passion project or whatever it is written down somewhere. So,
Yeah.
you know, hey, this is something I can go to, because guess what? It's always when you don't have any more brain power left that's the perfect moment to do that thing. But you don't have the brain power to think about what that was on the list,
And
right?
I don't even know if we talked about it before. Maybe we did in a previous podcast, but we'll talk about the future as like, and I've told you many times, like, this is not made for memorizing everything. This is
He's
made for
pointing at his
computation.
brain, in
Yeah.
case you're listening and not watching.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm pointing to my brain. Yeah. So your head, right? Your brain is made for computation, decision making, right? And there's only so much RAM in that puppy. So find ways exterior, like we talked about a comic book, we talked about your computer notes, to write down things, Google Calendar, right? To write down things you don't want to forget, so that it frees up your brain, the RAM, to make better decisions, right? The last thing you need to do is try to remember how many plates you're in or in the air during the witching hour, right? That 4 or 5 p.m. I mean, everything's coming crashing down. So yeah, I get made fun of a lot, or people take jabs at the fact that I don't remember a lot of quote unquote important things, because I rely on outsourcing that data storage so that I can be present during conversations and make better decisions. Now, don't get me wrong. I remember my kids' names and birthdays and stuff like that. But as far as big checklist stuff, I have software or hardware for that. So it definitely stops me from being bogged down. Like you said, like, man, this would be the perfect time to do, and I don't know what I should be doing. Right. Like,
Yep.
that's why you have that list.
Yep. So have that list ready to go.
Mhm.
Okay. We're working on, the brain power stuff in the morning. We're working on maybe more physical stuff in the afternoon. But what about, okay, let's just maybe rabbit trail off this.
Yeah.
What would you say, Rob? What about those people? What about those dads out there that are working the 9 to 5
Mhm.
and don't really have a choice as to what it is that they are working on throughout the day? They don't quite have that independence. Um, what does that look like? What suggestions might you have for that kind of dad, as far as creating some of those routines and also supporting his family when it comes
Yes.
to the coming home? I'm thinking about the waking up, but also just, I remember very, like, a lot of days of just coming home and being wiped out. But like,
Yeah.
that's your, and I mean, this applies to my wife as well, right? Like,
Mhm.
she's teaching, like,
All day.
constantly
Yeah.
talking to people, and then she comes home, and then it's like she has like an hour, maybe even less, and then she's like making dinner and doing the stuff, and then
Mhm.
the kids, and then it's bedtime.
Mhm.
So sometimes it feels like you're on this hamster wheel of life, and it's like, where
It's
am I
true.
gonna find the time? So what would you say to those people?
So I guess there's three parts, right? The first part would be mornings, right? You need to earn that morning before you go. So if you normally get up at 8 and start the day because you got to get to work by 9, we're waking up 7, 6, 5:30. Gives you 2.5 hours, 2 hours a day. That's 10 hours during the working week to take care of yourself, right? So that would be the
Yeah.
the lowest hanging fruit, the simple thing. Some harder things to talk about, and I've had a lot of these conversations. It depends on where you work. One of the things that I've seen trending over the years around self-care and the corporate environment is the fact that, hey, I want to take care of my health. I want to go outside for my walks, but my manager is not, right? Or I want to go to the office gym that they made, but nobody else is going. So that fear of judgment in the workplace around taking care of yourself. So if you're in a space that does support self-care, there's no reason why you can't go and eat outside of the office for lunch, right? And like I said before, eat for 20 minutes, socialize with a coworker, get a couple of coworkers to start a walking group and walk around the building 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes every day. And a lot of people are, well, is that enough? That's more than what you're currently doing. So yes, it's always enough, right? Or pick a couple of workout buddies to do after work. And so this is what we were talking about, your partner coming home, and we still got life, right? Our other full-time job is being a parent. Like that doesn't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the key areas that I like to put self-care is during the transition time. So that's before work, driving to work, before you actually go to the office, after work, before you drive home. So, for instance, when I was working the gym, 14-hour days coming home, I would make sure that I would have space, 10, 15 minutes to decompress. Maybe it's meditation, some breath work for me because I was high stress before coming in, because I want to be the dad that my kids remember when I drop them off. I don't want to be the super bogged down dad and then try to be a parent. So during that transition time, it allows me to separate that energy from the safe environment that the home should be. So that could be in my car, if you have an office or like a little nook and cranny in the house that Deb can sit down and read, or just like scroll social for 10 minutes as a transition so that she's more present at home. She did something for herself. Like that's the transition time that I think is important. Now, if you're a parent, if you're a dad and you can't create boundaries at work, right? Like you're staying on after your boss is working you to the heel. I understand. We've all been there in some situation or time. For me, because I didn't create boundaries or I can't at work, that's what's actually zapping my energy. It's not the work, right? It's, am I doing this right? Why do I always have to stay for this extra meeting? It's all those lack of boundaries. And we've talked about this before. It's like
Yep.
the way you treat yourself is how people treat you. So if I'm zapped of energy, what I used to do is when I came home, I would do some type of activity. Maybe it's 1 minute of burpees. Maybe it's a jog around the complex, just to create energy. And the more I did that, the more my body naturally created energy at that time, which allowed me to feed that into my kids and into my family. Whereas I would come back like super tired, and if I didn't do anything, breath work's another way to do it. Then I would come in and I'd be like, I'm going to pass out on the couch. And then I'm not supportive to my spouse. I'm not supportive to my kids. So using, again, transition times to transition is really important. So mornings, if you can get it in, that's the easiest. I know people are saying it's going to be hard, but time-wise, it's the easiest to do, right? Secondly, would be to create boundaries at work for self-care. You know, back in the day with our parents, right, the 15-minute cigarette break kind of thing. Well, for us,
Yeah.
right, it's to get outside, get some vitamin D, move the body, right? That's the best way to battle stress and anxiety at the workplace, is to get out and move. And then it would be during that transition time, right? Lunch, after hours, before coming home, before walking into your structural home, do something to either deplete all that negative stress energy, right? Or maybe you're so drained, create some energy, right? Do some quicker breathing type patterns, or go do a quick workout. It doesn't have to be fancy. Jump rope for a minute, right? Anything to create some adrenaline release so that you can go be the parent that you want to be, the partner you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Love it. Love it. So, man, I where to go from here? I mean, did you have anything specifically in regards to routine where you were like, you know what, I want to talk about that? Um,
So the thing about routine is it's always ever changing, right? So that's another thing, is seasonally it's changing. Your priorities change with your pillars, and if once your pillars change, your routine might change. So don't be so stuck on like time blocking only, or doing one big thing a day only. Just know that it may not work for you in this season, but it doesn't mean it may not work for you in the future. And another thing about routine is making sure you share your routine, right? So not only as an
mm,
accountability rule, but if your spouse, if your kids know your routine, they're going to support you with that, right? They won't be the dad. They know that this is the time dad does that, right? So that he can be a better dad. So
yep.
sharing your routine really does create support. And I think that's the biggest thing, is you're going to need support in all seasons of life. So don't keep
Mm.
your pillars to yourself. Don't keep your routine to yourself. Share it with people.
Whew,
Um,
whew.
so
Yes. 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 Yes.
And then
That's a winner. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I wanted to ask for you, right? We've been working on your routine over
Mm-hmm.
the last 3 to 4 months. And what has been one takeaway, one big like, wow, that's been a game changer for you around either the mornings or around an awareness about your routine? What's one thing that you could share with a dad coming up, right? Like, hey, I've got like you've got a young newborn, right? Like, what's something that you do to make yourself better, right? Fill your
Yep.
tank when it comes to routine. Now, this could be morning, and we didn't even touch on evening routines, right?
Yep.
So, with you, what's something that you could share with other dads that are like, hey, I don't know what you're talking about routine. I'm just trying to figure out being a dad.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about while you were talking, I was thinking about dads with babies, like
Yeah.
in the being in the baby stage. Because one thing that I had no clue about, or sometimes like older parents or people who have been there like kind of forget about is
Yeah.
the fact that the the rhythm, the system is always ever changing when you have a baby. That
Yeah.
first year is just like figuring it out, and then it changing, and then figuring it out, and then it changing, and over and over and over you go. So I would say, I mean, honestly, the mornings are a huge win. Waking
Mhm.
up early has been clutch. There are times when you're waking up like 6 times a night, and yeah, that doesn't quite work out, right?
Mhm.
But something that I've done is I kind of need like a kick in the pants, in the sense of like just to think about the like where am I? What are my actions producing, right? So
Mhm.
like I want to get up in the morning, but I also want to watch Netflix at night, right? Well, what is that doing for me?
Yeah.
So the question to the dads who don't really have the routine is like, what is your current routine? Remember, we all have one.
Mhm.
Whatever it is, what is it doing for you? And if it's not doing anything for you, well then maybe give it a try, right? So one of the things that it's required me to do is go to bed earlier so that I can get up earlier. And
Yes.
now, and like I was actually really surprised at how fast my body like adjusted to that. Like
Mhm.
I was talking to you a while ago, like, Rob, it's 9 o'clock and I'm so tired. It feels like it's 11 o'clock right now,
Exactly.
in a good way. It's like my body saying, like, hey, no, remember, we're waking up early now. So go to
Mhm.
bed. Um, because the reality from myself, and
Mhm.
maybe it's different for some of you other dads out there, but the reality is I am a much better human being from 5:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. than I
Mhm.
am from 8:30 p.m. to
Mhm.
10:30 p.m.
Yeah.
So getting the sleep, and then getting up early has been huge. But here's the other thing. I It's really hard for me to hold on to routines. Like with my personality, like I always want to be starting something. I'm not good at finishing it, right? I'm
Mhm.
always wanting to like try something, but then I'm bored, right?
Mhm.
So I've been trying to find things that like anchors for
Mhm.
myself within the routine. So I don't know what kind of terminology is out there, but I'm calling it an anchor.
Mhm.
So right now, my morning anchor is my coffee and my scone. Like nobody can take that away from me. And
Mhm.
the scone and the coffee are always providing. Like they are always there for me, and they are always providing the sweet goodness that they are
Yes.
without fail. And so, man, that is my anchor for the morning. Like I know that when I wake up, oh, I'm gonna get the coffee, I'm gonna get the scone, and then from there we're rolling.
Yeah.
So I guess having some sort of anchor
Mhm.
to support the routine, or support the morning, or support whatever it is you're doing, I don't think it's really going to stick if you're not finding any enjoyment in
I
it,
think
right?
that's the biggest thing you said. It's something to look forward to, right? Like
Yeah.
you're looking forward to that cup of coffee, you're looking forward to that scone. And you kind of touched on a point of environment really does influencing your actions, right? So once you have your coffee, once you have your scone, you are telling your body and your mind, I'm ready to go. This box has been checked. we're good to go. And I think that's really important. So there's rituals within those routines, right? So the ritual of there's an emotional tie to the scone, to the coffee, which
Mm-hmm.
allows the routine, which seems robotic at times, to become automatic, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's so powerful. Like for me, one of the things that I do in the morning times to get hyper focused and to do some deep work is I listen to the same mix of music. It's been the same mix for years, and it's the same songs, and I don't listen to these songs outside of my focus time. So what happens
Ooh.
is my mind can quickly switch to a high focused, high deep work kind of space because it knows that that becomes an anchor or a trigger, right? Just like the scone in coffee is for you. As soon as you have that, your body knows. So I think environment, like creating those rituals within that routine, are so powerful for long-term adherence, right? And then we start doing it for internal reasons because we do enjoy it. We like the fact that we're making steps towards our goals. And you touched on it before. The 2 hours from like 9 to 11 versus the morning, right? 5 to 7, what's going to be more productive towards your goals, right? It's always going to be the 5 to 7. It's never going to be the 9 to 11, especially if you have little ones and after work and all that kind of stuff, especially willpower, batteries, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, big shout out to the dads with the babies in the
Yes,
baby phase, because it's really difficult
it
and
is.
it's ever changing.
Mhm.
So, I feel like the best thing that you can do for yourself is to take Rob's advice. And when it comes to the routines that you're trying to set, the rhythms that you're trying to implement, you have to communicate that consistently to your spouse,
Yes.
and you are going to be much happier people because of it, because
Yeah.
you're going to be able to adapt as you go. And so
Mhm.
that's, you got to give yourself so much grace when you're in the baby phase. Like,
Loose
it's
hands, as my friend Travis says, right? Loose
loose
hands.
ends.
I think for that first year, like you talked about it, and I still remember all the first year, especially the first kid, the first year. And if anyone was going to talk to me about routines or morning routines, I would just shrug it off because I feel like it's I just got signed up for the rodeo and I've never rode a bull before. Like that's the first year of being a dad, right? Like where do I put my hands? I need to hold on now. I think I'm going to die. Like
Yeah.
that's what it is. And so my words of advice that I would give myself with my firstborn, even the secondborn coming in, is when it comes to routine, make it as simple as possible. So instead of like the minutia of 7:45 wake up, this is what time I do that. That's all going out the window. Instead be like, okay, I've got before lunch and after lunch, right? What's one thing I can do for myself before lunch? Well, I was up all night with the baby and you know what? I'm going to take the baby for a walk. I'm going to grab my cup of coffee, put her in the stroller. We're going to go for a walk. That's one thing I did today. Done. You are done for the day, right? The backup plan is okay, I
Yep.
didn't get the morning in. What can I do for the afternoon? Well, I just got home. I'm really tired. But you know what? Because I'm communicating with my spouse about the routine, you know what? I'm going to ask, hey, can I get 20 minutes just to go walk around the block, clear my head? I just got home from work. Sure. Because that's communicated ahead of time versus just like, where did Rob go? He's supposed to be home right now. I don't know where he went. So clear communications and then simplifying it. Don't have 5, 6 pillars. Well, I need to exercise. I want to really get into this meditation stuff. We need to cook more at home. You just had a baby. That should be the priority. But you can take care of
Hmm.
yourself. Just make it really simple. Make it so simple that you can do it every day.
Yep. Yep. And I think that's a beautiful way to cap
Yes.
today's episode
And like you
on
said, we could
routines.
talk about evening
I
routines,
mean,
travel routines, right?
there are going to be more episodes about
Oh
this. I
yeah. This
mean,
is just
we
the
got
beginning.
to keep the people happy.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
I mean, we got to split it up. Sorry guys, you can't eat the whole cake in one sitting. You got to
Why not,
enjoy it.
Travis? Why not? Why not?
Oh man. And you know what? You know what? I'm really upset with myself, Rob. You see, I
Right.
failed you because we didn't do our fun thing for this episode. We were supposed to do our fun thing. If
I
any of you know me, I am a recreation and leisure studies major graduate.
mhm,
I,
mhm.
I'm
The
supposed to like
expert.
just be like spitting these out like on the regular with ease. and here I am missing it. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say the fun thing. I've been playing that game with my kids for the whole week, and it like on the ground grabbing stomach funny. Like it's been so bad how divergent the words can be that I have to stop and be like, guys, the goal is to
Is to
converge.
get
Is to yeah.
closer.
All of a sudden they start going this way. We're like, we're gonna be here for like half an hour. There's no way I'm coming around. So then I start chasing them. Still doesn't
Yeah.
work. Still doesn't work.
Oh man. Oh
Next
man.
episode.
Well,
Next episode.
hey,
Next episode.
hey, next episode we'll finish.
Mhm.
We will finish like responsible human beings because we got things to do today. But next
Yes.
time I will. We got to do another guess the word. That was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, remember, guys, we aren't experts.
No, we're not gurus.
We are just
dads
dads
in real life.
in real life.
We're getting it. It's closer. It's closer.
I said in real life at the same time. That was good for me.
That
Yep.
works.